Hey music fans, today I just wanted to kind of go over all of the albums that I bought in January, just so that you guys could see how my record collection is expanding. So here we go, we're going to go over the records that I bought in January. Now, the first one I was actually purchased in December, but it didn't come in until January, so since I wouldn't include it in my December lot, I'm going to include it here in the January video. So first we've got The Royal Scam by Steely Dan. If you've been around the channel, you know that I really like Steely Dan. I've already got Asia, Can't Buy a Thrill. I really wanted this one. It sounds fantastic on the record. Opens up with Kid Charlemagne, really great guitar solo by Larry Carlton. Really great keyboards on that one. We get The Caves of Altamira, another really great song with some cool horns. Don't Take Me Alive, more great guitar work by Larry Carlton. Sign-In Stranger has cool piano. The Fez is infectious. Bow, bow, bow. Oh no. It's just really cool. Green Earrings is really frantic and cool. Haitian Divorce has a cool talk box on it. Everything You Did has a reference to the Eagles, and so the Eagles got them back when they did Hotel California. And I mentioned Steely Dan stab it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. And then The Royal Scam is a good way to close the album. My third favorite of theirs. It's a great album. Glad to have it in the collection. Next, I actually had a different copy of this album before. I just never showed it in my video because it was a repressing. I've been on the lookout for an original of this for a long time, and everybody needs this one in their music collection. It's the greatest selling album of all time, Michael Jackson's Thriller. I had a repressing of this, got it when I was 17, shortly after Sgt. Pepper. Love this album, I just always wanted an original pressing, and this is the first issue with no Michael Jackson credits on the back. Sounds fantastic. Starts with Wanna Be Starting Something, Baby Be Mine is great. The Girl Is Mine has Paul McCartney on it. And then Thriller is classic. My favorite is Beat It. That one's great. Billie Jean is another great song. Human Nature was written by the guys from Toto, which is interesting because the backing band on this album is Toto, pretty much. And Eddie Van Halen plays the guitar solo on Beat It. So lots of great guest stars on this album too. PYT, great album. Open it up and show you guys the inner gatefold. Looks like him with a tire. Really great album. Find that. Okay. Now, the next album I got is a debut album. And debut albums are either really good or really bad. This one is really good. We've got Foreigner's first album. Has classics like Cold as Ice and Feels Like the First Time, but there's also other great songs on here like Star Rider, Long Long Way From Home, Fool For You Anyway. It's a really good debut album, and Lou Gramm is a killer vocalist. Next, this is an album that I have an artist that I have a lot of albums by, but I don't have this one because it's one of his later albums. However, just because it's a later album does not mean it's bad. In fact, this was actually one of his better later albums. This is Too Low for Zero by Elton John, his greatest album of the 80s, and probably his last really, really good album, although he does have some good albums later on, even though they're more sparse. Songs from the West Coast, Made in England, Captain and the Kid. So he's got some good stuff in the 90s and the 2000s, but this is kind of his last amazing album. Starts off with Cold as Christmas, and of course it's got I'm Still Standing. It's my favorite on here. The title track is good. I guess that's why they call it the blues. Kiss the Bride, and ends off with One More Arrow. So, pretty good album. Next we have an album that my friend Jeremy introduced me to. This is Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. What's fun about this album is that you can fold it out, and it's a full newspaper, and you can open it up and read the newspaper. There's all these funny Monty Python kind of humor, British humor stories in the newspaper. But what's interesting about this album is that the entire album is one 40-minute song. So that's really crazy. Really great musicianship on this album. Of course, Ian Anderson playing flute and lead vocal and some acoustic guitar on here. Martin Barr on the electric guitar, really good. I don't know who's playing the drums or the organ, but they're killing it on this album. Kind of an early prog album, mocking concept albums, and ended up actually becoming a concept album. So really good. I got into Paul Simon. I need his self-titled album, but I did find a few other albums of his. I actually listened to these on the record for the first time. I didn't listen to them on streaming. I bought these at the record store just off the fact it was Paul Simon and really enjoyed these. But we got Still Crazy After All These Years. This is probably my favorite Paul Simon album. Starts off with the title track, Still Crazy After All These Years, which is amazing. I love the keyboard on that, and it's just a really good song. My Little Town, which is, I think, the last song that Simon and Garfunkel recorded together, at least for a long time. That one's great. I Do It For Your Love is great. Best song on the album is probably 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Really cool bass on that. Really groovy track. Kind of funny lyrics like Get on the Bus, Gus. Slip Out the Back, Jack. Stuff like that. Night Game is kind of a sad story about a baseball pitcher who died mid-game and how they kind of commemorated him. Paul Simon is very poetic in his lyrics. Get to side 2. Gone at Last has a lot of like gospel type vocals in it. Some Folks Live Lives Easy. Have a Good Time. You're Kind, which is kind of funny because it's like, you're kind and I don't know why you treat me so good, but I'm going to leave you because you like to sleep with the window closed and I like it open. And that's kind of a stupid reason for leaving. I guess that's one of the 50 ways, huh? And it ends with Silent Eyes. So, probably my favorite Paul Simon solo album I've heard so far. This is my second favorite, at least as of now, Graceland. Most people's favorite Paul Simon album. I like Still Crazy a little bit more. I've only listened to half this album though, so I need to give the other half a listen. I heard part of You Can Call Me Al, and then I had to stop the record, but from what I've heard so far, this album is amazing. Boy in the Bubble, really good. Graceland, Gumboots, Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes was fantastic. You Can Call Me Al probably would have been my favorite song if I'd have finished it. And I need to listen to the other half because I was really liking what I was hearing on this album. Definitely belongs in the collection. Then I went to this record store that I'd never been to before. Brand new record store. I mean, brand new to me. Like, it didn't just open, but I'd never been there before. And I got these next 2 albums for $5 each. Thought that was a really good deal. Queen, A Day at the Races. I've already got A Night at the Opera. And so I thought it was time to pick this up, which is another one of my favorite Queen albums. Had some really underrated stuff on here, like You Take My Breath Away, Long Away, Millionaire's Waltz, You and I. And of course, it's got the classic Somebody to Love. It's got White Man, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, Drowse, which is I believe is a Roger Taylor song. Anyway, this is another one of Queen's best albums. If you like A Night at the Opera, or if you just know Queen off of their singles, definitely check this album out because it's really good. And next we've got an album that's way overdue in my collection. Simon and Garfunkel, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. I got it for $5. This is a mono copy. It used to belong to Tully. I don't know if you can see his name on the back. I don't know who Tully is, but I've got your record. Starts off with Scarborough Fair. Amazing. I love the harmonies. Patterns is a really cool, kind of frantic sounding song. Cloudy is amazing. Homeward Bound, fantastic. 59th Street Bridge Song, Feeling Groovy, another amazing song. Dangling Conversation. These are all good songs. Flowers Never Been with the Rain. I'm actually going to try to pronounce it this time. A Simple Desultory Philippic, or How I Was Robert McNamrud into Submission. Kind of a joke on Bob Dylan. And when you say Dylan, they think you're talking about Dylan Thomas. Whoever he is. Man ain't got no class. For Emily, wherever I may find her, poem on the underground wall, and ends very strongly on a kind of a haunting note with 7 o'clock news / Silent Night, which, if you haven't heard that, go have a listen to that. That'll, man, it's a kind of a social commentary song, but it's very scarily accurate, and dare I say, even more telling of the times than it was released when it was released in 1966. And then, of course, we got the big one. My latest purchase is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It was an album that I thought was terrible the first time I heard it. A few more listens has brought it to be one of my favorite albums. It's got this iconic prism on the front, kind of bending the light into all the different colors. And then what's interesting is that you open the gatefold, there's like a heartbeat, which you hear the heartbeat on the record, the first and the last thing you hear on this album. The green band is kind of the heartbeat, and goes around to the back, and it forms an infinite loop, kind of like the album is an infinite loop that it starts and ends with a heartbeat. But definitely, this is more of an artistic statement than a bunch of hit songs, even though it does have their one of their most commercially successful hits, Money. But this is an album you definitely have to listen to in order and in full. Starts off with Speak to Me, which is just kind of some weird sound effects. It's the heartbeat, and then you kind of hear a few sounds from each of the songs you're going to be hearing later on. Like you can hear the vocals from Great Gig in the Sky, you can hear the cash registers from Money, kind of the rumbling synth sounds from On the Run. And in the background you just hear like this guy saying like, I've been mad for a long time. And then it comes in with Breathe, which is a really relaxing song. In contrast with On the Run, which is really frantic and I think is about trying to frantically get around places. You got Time, which starts out with these creepy clock sounds and has some very haunting lyrics about how time was always passing by really fast, which ultimately leads to death, which is represented by the Great Gig in the Sky. Side 2, Money, really good. It was a hit single in 7 time. Us and Them, really great. Any Color You Like, really great instrumental. Brain Damage, which is about Syd Barrett. And then ends perfectly with Eclipse. And what's cool about this copy is it comes with all the goodies. I paid a little bit more, but I wanted to get all the goodies, so where's the sticker page? I want to make sure that doesn't get lost. These things are too old to stick now, but there's the sticker page. Here's the band poster. Comes with 2 posters. Gotta be careful because I don't want to rip this. Band poster. And then here's a poster of the Pyramids. Which is kind of represented by the prism on the front. And yes, this is an original copy. So that means it's probably 50 years old. This is the 50th anniversary. So anyway, definitely belongs in the collection. And that's what I bought in the month of January. I'll see you guys next month when I show what I bought in February.